Ready to learn about the hidden secrets of ancient Egypt? One of the most well-known deities in ancient Egyptian religion was Anubis, whose significance will be explored today. Anubis, the jackal-headed deity of the dead and embalming, is one of the most recognizable figures in ancient Egyptian mythology. Join us as we explore the huge tombs and temples of ancient Egypt. We will learn more about the lives and times of Anubis, the Egyptian god of the underworld, and the method of mummification. Before that, let me remind you to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video from us. What are the symbols of Anubis? Anubis, the jackal-headed god of the dead and embalming, is the next supernatural person we encounter on our tour through ancient Egypt. Anubis was a mysterious deity who embodied the solemnity and mystery of death, and his emblems were as diverse and numerous as the Egyptians' many different religious and cultural tenets. Anubis's jackal shape was well recognized as a symbol of both his afterlife connection and his protective duty. The jackal was a common sight on the fringes of the Egyptian cities where it preyed upon the living and served as an appropriate symbol for a god who ruled over the afterlife and the afterlife itself. The flail, which was used to thrash wheat and other grains in ancient Egypt, was another sign of Anubis. Anubis's flail was a common emblem for his authority and power because he was in charge of making sure the dead were properly cleansed and embalmed before they made the journey to the afterlife. In the Egyptian rite known as the weighing of the heart of the deceased was compared to a feather of Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice. Because of his position as a judge and arbiter of the afterlife, the feather came to signify Anubis. As the god who led the spirits of the dead into the care of the gods, Anubis was frequently shown with the Ankh, a sign of endless life. Because of his strength and ability to gracefully pass through the cycle of life and death, which the Ankh represented, Anubis was highly regarded. So, let's take a moment to appreciate the many ways that Anubis, the jackal-headed god of the dead and embalming, represents ancient Egyptian thought and practice. In Egyptian mythology, what abilities did the god Anubis possess? It was widely held that Anubis possessed a number of supernatural skills in Egyptian mythology, elevating him to a position of prominence among the deities. Anubis, the jackal-headed god of the dead and embalming, was tasked with guaranteeing the safe passage of the deceased into the afterlife. The talents and capabilities attributed to Anubis include: Anubis was worshipped as a psychopomp because it was believed that he had the power to lead the souls of the dead safely through the afterlife and into the care of the gods. The mummification process, which was vital to preserving the body for eternity, was closely tied to the god Anubis. He was thought to be in charge of the ritual washing of the body and wrapping it in linen. Anubis was frequently shown in Egyptian art in the role of judge and arbiter of the afterlife. The deceased heart was weighed against a feather representing Ma'at, the goddess of truth and justice, and he was in charge of this procedure. As a strong protector, Anubis oversaw ancient Egypt's cemeteries and afterlife to make sure the deceased were respected and not harmed in any way. Symbolically, Anubis represented the threshold between life and death, and his jackal shape was deemed appropriate for the god who ruled the underworld. In general, Anubis was highly significant to the ancient Egyptian religion, and his talents and powers were at the heart of their funerary ceremonies and activities. How come Anubis was so significant to the Egyptians? Anubis held a prominent place in the Egyptian pantheon, and his significance to the Egyptian people was deep and varied. At the center of Anubis's significance was his function as a psychopomp, a guide whose job it was to lead the souls of the dead safely through the perilous afterlife. In this role, he was revered as an all-knowing deity, a sage who could help mortals make sense of the afterlife's intricate web of gods and goddesses. To ensure the body would last forever, mummification was closely linked to the god Anubis. His position as overseer of this ritual required him to have extensive knowledge and skill in the art of embalming so that the body could be properly prepared for its journey into the afterlife. This earned him great respect among ancient Egyptians, for whom bodily preservation was a necessary condition for entering the afterlife. Anubis served not only as a psychopomp and embalmer, but also as a guardian and protector, keeping watch over the ancient Egyptians' tombs and burial grounds to protect the departed souls from harm. Because of the jackal's reputation for fierce loyalty and protective instincts, his jackal form served as an appropriate symbol for this position. Anubis's ability to move freely between the worlds of the living and the dead was perhaps his greatest achievement. The ancient Egyptian god Anubis was a powerful figure representing the solemnity and mystery of death. The widespread prevalence of tombs and monuments bearing his likeness attests to the enduring impact he had on the local population. What are 3 facts about Anubis? Enter the realm of ancient Egypt with open arms, traveler. Anubis, the jackal god of the dead and embalming, is one of the most mysterious figures in Egyptian mythology, and today we'll look at 3 interesting facts about him. First, Anubis was not one of the most popular Egyptian deities. However, he was also frequently invoked as a secondary deity, called upon during funeral ceremonies and times of crisis, and played an important role in the funerary rituals and traditions of the time. The second fact is that mummification, which was vital to preserving the body for eternity, was closely linked to the god Anubis. It was believed that he oversaw the important rite of washing the body and wrapping it in linen bandages before it was sent off to the afterlife. Thirdly, Anubis was frequently represented as a jackal, or a man with a jackal's head in ancient Egyptian art. The jackal was viewed as an appropriate symbol for a god who ruled over the realm of the dead, since it was a beast that prowled the fringes of the Egyptian towns and cities, frequently hiding near the tombs and burial grounds. In what myths does Anubis appear? Anubis was a pivotal figure in many ancient myths and folklore, and he embodied both the solemnity and mystery of death. The tale of the weighing of the heart ceremony features Anubis prominently. This myth suggests that after death, the heart was weighed against Mahat's feather, the goddess of truth and justice. A person's soul would be consumed by the monster Ammit if their hearts were determined to be full of sin. With a spark in one's heart, one's soul would be granted immortality. Anubis is a character in the tale of the jealous brother Set, who killed the underworld god Osiris. Anubis was the god who was tasked with preparing Osiris's body for burial and embalming him. Anubis, a strong figure who could move between the worlds of the living and the dead, was the symbol of the cycle of life and death in this myth. Anubis was also linked to Isis in another tale, when it was claimed that she used his mummification expertise to resurrect her husband, Osiris. Legend has it that Isis embalmed Osiris before his resurrection because she learned the craft from Anubis. As a psychopomp, he helped the dead find their way to the afterlife, and as the central figure in the mummification ritual, Anubis has come to represent much about the ancient Egyptian belief system. We appreciate you coming along on our adventure as we explore the fascinating history of Anubis, the jackal-headed god of the afterlife and mummification in ancient Egypt. Anubis was crucial to ancient Egyptian religion and culture, both in his position as a psychopomp and in the practice of mummification. The widespread prevalence of tombs and monuments bearing his likeness attests to the enduring impact he had on the local population. As we wrap up our discussion of Anubis's significance in ancient Egyptian religion, we encourage you to learn more about the fascinating mythology and history of Egypt. Because they offer a glimpse into a mysterious and enigmatic world filled with gods, pharaohs, and pyramids, Egyptian myths and beliefs continue to enchant modern audiences. Keep your mind open and your feet wet, and we'll see you back here for another episode of Uncovering Mythology and History very soon. Don't forget to let us know your thoughts on this topic in the comments box below, and keep watching.